Doing today, like my neat shirt here. I don't know where I got it, but I thought it would be fun to wear today. Today we're going to be discussing IVF triggers. Actually, I thought it was going to be a one-part, but it's actually going to be a two-part episode. Love the kisses. Hello, everybody. Gypsy, his number one fan. Hello. Just Be Kimmy. Hello, Rochelle. And let's see, how about our people on Facebook Live? How you guys doing out there in YouTube? By the way, if you're on Instagram, the first half hour is going to be on Facebook Live or YouTube, okay? So Facebook Live or YouTube, jump over. Everybody jump over to Facebook Live or YouTube. Hello, Mommy Prayer. Hello, everybody. So we're going to be doing my talk is going to be on Facebook Live and on YouTube. Somebody say hi. I'll say hi on the Facebook Live side just to make sure everything's working there. It looks like it's a little slow. Okay, I said hi. Good. Hi. We got a couple of double highs there. So everybody who's on the Instagram, jump over to Facebook Live. I'm going to be doing my lecture on Facebook Live. If somebody is on Facebook Live right now, I'm not seeing any comments. So there's a comment. Hi, Nikki. Thanks for saying hi. Yeah, so everybody who's on Instagram, jump over to Facebook Live. Hello, Amanda. Good to see you. Hi. So everybody who's on Instagram, jump over to Facebook Live. We're going to be talking about the IVF triggers this week. Hi, Kristen. Good to see you. Shaniqua, jump over to Facebook Live. Megan, jump over to Facebook Live. Keeping Up With Me, jump over to Facebook Live. Jeep Chick Always, jump over to Facebook Live. Lynn Asia 1, jump over to Facebook Live or YouTube, either one. I'm going to be doing my talk on IVF triggers, Lupron triggers, HCG triggers, Kisspeptin triggers. I'm going to talk about... we're not doing PRP this week. I'm not finished with it. It's a huge topic. So I'm shifting over to the IVF triggers, and even this topic is only part one. I'm really trying to pack in the information, but I also want to do it in a way that you guys will get the most out of it. So all you folks on Instagram, jump over to Facebook Live and YouTube. And anyway, how long is the waiting list at IVF in Colorado? Actually, I don't know. It's a waiting list. I really don't know how long that is. So anyway, folks, we're going to be talking about IVF triggers. What is the link for Facebook? Just to go CNY Fertility. That's the Facebook. CNY Fertility is the, I don't know if that's what you call a link, but everybody who's on Instagram, jump over to Facebook Live. And so we're going to be talking about IVF triggers. And of course, what we're talking about is the trigger that prepares your body to be able to release the oocyte into the fluid of the follicle that allows us to aspirate out the egg. Hello, Alley Cat and Tinisharan 33. YouTube, the same thing as CNY Fertility. Facebook Live, CNY Fertility. YouTube, CNY Fertility. Instagram, CNY Fertility. So everything is CNY Fertility. You should be able to find it. All right. Triggers for transfer. Yay. That's what we're going to be talking about. Triggers for transfers. No, not triggers for transfers. We're going to be talking about triggers for retrievals. Triggers for transfers work under the same principle. So all you folks who are on Instagram, jump over to Facebook Live. Everybody who's on Instagram, jump over to Facebook Live or YouTube Live. We're going to be talking about IVF triggers, both for retrievals and transfers. The principle is exactly the same. So anyway, that's our topic for today. I'm going to give a few more minutes for the folks on Instagram to jump over. We're down to 7, 6, 5. Keep jumping over to Facebook Live so I can have you guys see the lecture, and then then we'll jump back to questions. Now, given the nature of this topic, it's a huge topic. As a matter of fact, lots of really interesting information about it. And I'm going to break it down, though, into two parts. It's a private group on Facebook. I don't know. Anybody can help. Who can help By the way, you folks on Facebook, what should I tell the people on Instagram how to get there? Just somebody tell me where they have to go. If you know how to get to the Facebook Live, for the folks on Instagram wants to know how to jump on the Facebook Live or YouTube, either one. So if somebody can kind of send me a comment here or send a comment to Instagram, folks, that would be perfect. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about IVF triggers. I'm Dr. Magarelli, CNY Fertility, Colorado. Gorgeous day, sunny, but cold and snow on the ground, but it's getting beautiful. But the sun makes up for it. It's actually melting a little bit. I think it's about 59 now. Tell them to follow CNY Fertility on Facebook, and then they'll see you are love. See you are love. And they'll see you. You are love. Okay, so you have to follow CNY. There we go. Thank you. The person who did the Nevis, thank you. Everybody who's on Instagram, jump over to Facebook Live, please. And I'm going to get started. In Facebook page, search CNY Fertility. So you have to get on Facebook page and then search CNY Fertility. And then if you follow, of course, CNY, there is a private group called CNY Fertility Support Group, but that's not it. So there you go. Facebook. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much. So let me get started because it's about 5 after. As I said, as usual, I have a lot of information. So anyway, I'm Dr. Magarelli, CNY Fertility, Colorado. I'm medical and lab director at CNY. I'm also owner of Technical Conceptions. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about. So today we're going to talk about IVF, the cycles, some of the basic physiology. Woo, good for you, 19 eggs today. And then we're going to review the role of the medications. Good afternoon, Vanessa. Then we're going to discuss the actual triggers themselves. And I'm going to change my take-home message. And the reason is because my take-home message is going to happen at the next talk, because I could only get about half of it for today because I want to leave time for conversation. But it's very interesting. So all you folks, I'm going to repeat it, all you folks on Instagram, jump over to Facebook Live or YouTube Live. I guess you just go to a Facebook page and search for CNY Fertility. And then okay. So this is what most folks think of, the recruitment of an egg in one cycle. And honestly, it's the last 10 days of the cycle is what most folks think about. Last 10 days of the recruitment that most people think about. But in reality, to get an egg to ovulate, your body sends a message 150 days before you get that egg to come out. So that's, let's see, 90 days with 3 months, 120 days would be 4 months. So, almost 5 months before there's some messaging going on. So there's lots happening. Now, in a natural cycle, we have a bunch of these wonderful follicles available that were called into play 150 days ago. And through the process of natural secretion of FSH, one out of the group will ovulate and the rest will die. So this is a natural cycle, and that trigger to get it to ovulate is called LH. That trigger will change, and I'm going to go through those processes, the machine to change the follicle from an estrogen factory to a progesterone factory. So that's a natural cycle. In an IVF stimulation, again, we give the FSH, which is found in a natural cycle, but much higher concentration, so that we're recruiting many, and evenly recruiting. Notice here you have a dominant and maybe a subdominant, but at all kinds of weird sizes. But our goal is to grow a batch, a synergistic batch of follicles. And that's what we use a product called Lupron. It blocks the release of LH so that we don't have one ovulate and the rest die. We get many prepared for ovulation. But in this case, as you notice, we're not giving LH, we're giving HCG. And this is the classic IVF. So all you folks on Instagram, please jump over to our fertility page on CNY Fertility Facebook. as well as YouTube, our fertility page, and you can see this live presentation. I've got a lecture here, and then in about 20 minutes, we'll go to questions and answers. So all you folks on Instagram, jump over to CNY on Facebook. So here's another more complicated look at what a typical IVF cycle appears. I'm going to make that picture a little bit bigger for you, so I'm hoping you can see it here. Let me bring it over here. All right, and again, it's not all that clear, but this is the days. This is about a month and a half, and what it's basically saying is that in a long Lupron protocol, it's just the name of the protocol. We might lead in with birth control pills, add some Lupron, add the stimulation meds during the first 14 days of stimulation or 10, 11 days of stimulation. Then again, in here, you can't see it. It's an HCG trigger. And that trigger, by the way, this lecture is available at the end. It's saved on our website. And then that trigger is the next phase before we take the eggs out. So this is like a very classic view of an IVF cycle. And you all know about this process here. Here's another view. Many of you do what's called an antagonist cycle protocol, and that's like ganirelix or citrotide. And again, here you see that we in an antagonist protocol, we give the fertility medicines in the beginning part of the cycle, and then we start adjusting the fertility medicines to get optimal growth. And then we use this antagonist to keep the cells, the oocytes growing evenly. And then on the day of trigger, we trigger with HCG. Now with Lupron, by the way, so an antagonist would be ganirelix or citrotide. The antagonist protocol or agonist protocol uses Lupron, but you have to do it longer because here you see a very short period of time with the antagonist. And here, of course, you see a much longer time with the agonist. And we're not going to get into the science of that. But again, it's exactly the same. We use HCG as a trigger. So that's kind of what most of us think of as the way to do an IVF cycle. Now we're going to get to triggers here in a second. So what about this other thing called a mini IVF versus a conventional IVF? Again, the reason I'm showing you the protocol is you have to understand the protocol before you can understand the triggers. So, for example, in a mini IVF cycle, let's do a conventional. In a conventional IVF cycle, you do lots of fertility medicines, intensely monitor, again, using HCG as a trigger, or we'll see later you can give something else, retrieve. Whereas with a mini, you see, and by the way, these FSH medications are extraordinarily expensive. So in a way to save money, that's it, save money, we can substitute the oral medicine, letrozole or Clomid, and add gonadotropins, and then use a trigger, again, to get this retrieval. That is a little bit shorter cycle, and etc. So what did you notice? In all of these descriptions, everybody's getting triggered with HCG. So with HCG, it seems to have a reason. So what is that reason? So the goal of HCG is to induce the final egg maturation in the oocyte to allow it to be fertilizable or get competence. So I'm going to just, using this particular paper and other references, I'm going to kind of review that process. So when we say that the trigger induces final maturation or competence, what we're talking about is you have lots and lots of follicles that you had before you were born, and that was done by mitosis. They simply, 1 made 2, 2 made 4, 4 made 8, all the same. Then there was a meiotic change because we have to get to a haploid or a single pair of chromosomes to match with the other pair of chromosomes from the sperm. So there's a reduction division, and there's 2 of them. One's called the first metaphase 1 and then metaphase 2. Well, before you reach sexual maturity, the oocytes go into metaphase 1 and they stay there. They stay, and there's a control mechanism so they don't mature. And the reason we don't want them mature, we don't know, but typically that's how the process works in mammalian physiology. To get them ready to be a haploid, so this is diploid, it has two little chromosome pairs. To get them to have one pair of chromosomes, we have to do a trigger. And that's what the LH does, or the HCG does, or the Lupron does, or the KISS peptide does, is it allows this competence. So you get an M1 to go to an M2, and an M2 is what we fertilize. And then the fertilization, and then the sperm, the egg join, and now in here you have the diploid, or the normal 23 pairs of chromosomes. So at the trigger, and here's the trigger in this case showing it, this can be LH, and I'm going to explain the difference between LH, HCG, Lupron, and KISS peptide. The LH allows this germinal vesicle germinal vesicle to break down, and this is the germinal vesicle prior to being ready for that final division. And so what happens is that through a series of energetics, spindles form, and these spindles are things that can pull apart the chromosomes from a paired. Here you see a pair of chromosomes, and these spindles can pull them apart. And then in the human egg, 1/2 of the chromosome information is put out by a called the polar body, which can't make a baby, and then the other, it retains it in the egg. So now this egg is a haploid nucleus, haploid chromosome, each of the chromosomes, and you have this little polar body. Now with sperm, when they divide, it doesn't become a polar body and an oocyte, it becomes 2 sperm, so 1 becomes 2. So the job of the trigger is for nuclear maturation, and believe it or not, also cytoplasmic maturation, so you can start building these spindles to allow the sperm DNA, which contains the chromosomes, to get joined in, and then we create, of course, our babies. So you resume the development of metaphase 1, which is the pre-metaphase 2 in the oocyte. Metaphase 2 are the only type of oocyte that can actually fertilize, and then the machine is built. All you folks that are on Instagram, please jump over to Facebook Live. I'm doing a lecture, so jump over. So the short answer is how do we trigger? Well, the short answer is it's a menage a trois. We have 3 different ways we can trigger in an IVF cycle, 2 of them commercially available, 1 not commercially available. And I'm going to go over each of those 3 different types. The first type, everybody knows, in a natural cycle, this is a natural menstrual cycle here. You can see as the follicle develops, and that develops because of FSH, it produces estrogen. So the estrogen starts going up, which is this green line here. And at a certain level of estrogen, a signal goes back to the brain for the brain to secrete luteinizing hormone, which allows that last phase of maturation to occur. So if we gave luteinizing hormone to a person doing an IVF stimulation, they would get ready to ovulate. Now, in an IVF cycle, we take the eggs before you ovulate because we want to break this connection, this oocyte-cumulus connection here, so that the egg can free float in the fluid so it can suck them out. Here you see that this system starts at the hypothalamus. In other words, the hypothalamus sends gonadotropin-releasing hormone, GnRH, to the anterior pituitary, which in turn stimulates the secretion of both FSH and LH, which allows for ovulation. So there's a wonderful places in here that are all involved at the central level, the brain level, to control ovulation. So in a natural cycle, we use LH. Well, then why in our IVF cycles are we giving HCG? That's a pregnancy hormone. Does it make any sense for us to give a pregnancy hormone to get a person to ovulate? We know that the pregnancy hormone actually helps the corpus luteum, the follicle, the ruptured follicle, the ovulated follicle, produce progesterone, just like LH does, luteinizing hormone, and so does HCG. So what is it about HCG that allows it, as you see here, that allows direct control over the ovary? Okay, so LH again comes from the pituitary. So the brain is controlling ovulation. If you give it a HCG, that'll control it, as well as if you give a recombinant LH, that will control it. So this is the reason here in the middle why you can use interchangeably HCG and LH. Now, the reason I'm doing this lecture in two parts is there's a lot of science behind the impact of using one or the other, and there's lots of questions about it. So rather than making this super dense this week, I'm giving you the basics. So what you notice is that in the LH, there's two parts to it, two subunits. There's an alpha unit and a beta. And guess what? In the HCG, there's two subunits. There's an alpha unit and a beta. And then guess what? In FSH, there's an alpha unit and a beta. And guess what? In the thyroid stimulating hormone, there's an alpha unit and a beta. So that beta unit, these, as you notice here, they're all different shapes, dictates certain aspects of the property of that compound's activity. So the receptor for the ovulation for preparation for the oocyte to ovulate, the receptor for that is the alpha subunit. Because the beta is different between these two, the alpha is allowed to be used as a trigger. So that's how HCG can be used as a trigger. So how do you use Lupron then? That doesn't seem to make any sense. Lupron is a GnRH agonist. Well, think about it. Agonist means causes the brain to secrete lots of stuff, right? So a GnRH agonist could cause, so here's your GnRH. It comes from the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus produces GnRH to tell the pituitary to produce LH. So we could trigger a cycle to produce more LH to allow for the final maturation in an IVF cycle, if and only if it's not been exposed to Lupron before. So we can use it as long as it's not been exposed to Lupron before. So you can't do a Lupron trigger in the long Lupron or flare Lupron cycle. To do a Lupron trigger, you have to do that in a cycle with an antagonist, because as you can see here, an antagonist blocks things, right? Stops things. So that's the only time that you can use Lupron to trigger the release of FSH and LH. So in those folks, and most of our patients are on ganirelix or on citrotide, they can use a Lupron trigger. So during this process, any of these triggers essentially allow the follicle to free float and be ready to be aspirated. Now, you must get the eggs out of the follicle approximately 34 to 36 hours after the trigger. If you wait any longer than that, what will happen is that you'll ovulate the egg into the pelvic cavity and lose it. Okay, so it is really critical, the timing. So when the folks tell you your timing, it is critical to be aware. If they say 11 o'clock, do it at 11 o'clock, because that's how we control getting the eggs without losing the eggs. Are there differences between HCG and Lupron? Absolutely. Here you can see that, or LH, I should say, not HCG. Well, actually, all three. There's a short half-life of LH, whereas a much longer half-life of HCG. So that's a property. Still does the job. You'll notice it still does the job in terms of a response, but it has a different response. And then if you look at GnRH as a trigger, so you have three triggers here, LH, HCG, and GnRH, you can see that it even has a different profile. What I'm going to do on the second talk, which is in a couple of weeks, is talk about how those profiles affect which one we choose, and how the person's body mass may affect it, and also their age. So then why the heck don't we give LH instead of HCG? Well, for one thing, HCG was around many decades before the invention of recombinant LH. So the reason we used HCG is we simply couldn't buy luteinizing hormone. Well, there was a short period of time where recombinant luteinizing hormone was available. It's called Luveris. But really, it's just simply we're not using it today. I'm imagining it's due to costs, etc. But it is out there. And there's a difference, for example, in natural LH and GnRH secretion. So again, the next time we talk about triggers, I'm going to talk much more detail about the specifics and why we choose them. The last compound that is now is available in research to cause to be used as a trigger is called kisspeptide. And kisspeptin is a compound that's in the hypothalamus, which actually acts to release GnRH into the circulation to the anterior pituitary. And as you know, GnRH is what causes LH to be secreted. So it's a very potent stimulator, and we may well see in the future, and has very different properties than the other compounds. So each of these, LH, natural, HCG, Lupron, kisspeptide, each of these can do the same thing. They can make you be prepared for your retrieval. They have different properties, and this is where I want to talk next time about what those properties are. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about before I kind of get to your questions is this issue of dual triggers, double dose triggers. Oh my! In other words, they sound pretty weird. What is going on? Well, I'm going to try to. By the way, that should be too different, not too definite. But in a dual trigger, we give two different types of triggers: Lupron and HCG. So that's two different mechanisms, Lupron acting at the GnRH level or at the LH level, and then of course HCG acting directly on the ovary. In a double trigger, we give two doses of Lupron separated usually by about 12 hours. And again, you're giving two doses of the same trigger, so the same mechanism, with the hope, of course, you want to get as many mature eggs as possible and as many eggs as possible. In a double dose trigger, a lot of doubles in there, instead of giving the standard 5,000 international units of HCG, we give 10,000 units of HCG. So again, and again, like, how do you know who to pick? Well, that's what's going to happen on our next talk, is we're going to talk about how do you choose one trigger over another? Does it really matter? What influences that choice? And how does the biochemistry of the ovary and the physiology of the patient impact the success of these? So there you have it. Well, there you go. So the purpose today was to begin to introduce you to this whole trigger situation. And if anybody has any questions, just give me, you can ask them now. Wow, probably overwhelmed you. Welcome back. So I hope that was helpful. Again, I'm going to be able to answer any questions you have. It doesn't have to be on this topic, although it helps if you do. Okay, how do you ensure with these meds that ovulation doesn't happen prematurely? I know a few people were gone when they went in. Yes, that was my point. You have to do this 34 to 36 hours prior to the retrieval. And if your physiology may be different, so there are times where you may accelerate ovulation, but the highest probability of achieving the most eggs retrieved without losing any is if you do it within that window of 34 to 36. In nature, around the 37th hour, you ovulate. What do you think about, wait a second. Which one is more effective? We're going to talk about that next time. I think they're all effective. For a frozen transfer, there are no triggers, right? That is correct. What do you think about 5-day fresh transfer? I think they're great. I can't wait to visit by the end of March. May you explain the low-dose HCG versus HCG 10,000. Low-dose HCG is being used like LH, not as a trigger, but it's being used just to feed the follicles a little bit of LH, and then the 10,000 trigger is the trigger. Johanna, and by the way, folks on the Instagram, you can ask questions too, now that I'm back, if that's easier. I had my laparoscopy this past Friday. If my cycle stays the same, transfer would be about 5 weeks later. Would that be okay? Yes. But don't worry about your cycle. Just plan for it to be 5 to 6 weeks later. Kara, I just jumped on, so I'll back and watch the video, but I prescribed Lupron nasal spray. Is that used as a trigger? Yes. Yes, absolutely. In Europe, that must be in Europe. We don't tend to use it in the US. When to use low-dose HCG versus Menopur? I think for Menopur, it's probably useful for people who don't do well with the low-dose HCG, but low-dose HCG seems to work. Alicia, okay, Dr. Mag, I need your insight. A month ago, I started monitoring for FET. My TSH jumped to 3.9, was started on Synthroid. Last Monday, I transferred with 2 4-day embryos, was day 7 patient, and I'm testing negative. Do you think my TSH affected implantation? TSH tends to affect miscarriage rates, not implantation, Alicia, so you can worry a little bit. Kim, I had my baseline yesterday and only had 6 follicles. How often do you see other follicles catch up on to the others, or is 6 the estimated count? Yeah, it's estimated. Is there anything we can do to improve follicle counts? Well, blood flow is important, so acupuncture may help get access. Kara, New York. Okay, New York. Is it okay to take Omnitrope while priming with birth control pills? Yes. Shelly, I know someone who has low AMH and she's using donor eggs. However, her fertility doctor recommends doing the AMH anyway. Is this common? Doing the AMH anyway. Well, to get, no, it's not common. Do you recommend a retrieval first or lap? Always do your retrieval first. February 21st, FET 6-day transfer done, and don't know the rest. Stay tuned. All righty. It's so lovely to hear the questions. And by the way, if you want to comment on my talk, if it was too complicated or not enough information, please do that. That would be helpful to me. What are your thoughts on using birth control before starting IVF? It's good. It's fine. Do you usually see more follicles when one over the other than if not used? Well, no, not really. Cherry Bomb. After 2 miscarriages and 2 chemicals, I'm leaning towards a modified natural cycle. What medications are used for a modified natural cycle? Well, don't lean that way. Lean towards PGT of your embryos. That's what I would lean towards. What are your thoughts about you? Oh, it's good. Thank you. Your shirt is awesome. Oh, yeah, you like my shirt? This is my Superman sperm shirt. I don't know where the hell I got it, but I thought I'd wear it today just for fun. Thank you, Making Baby McCree. Can your body reject an embryo if you've had 3 kids naturally? No, there's no rejection there. Have you seen ovarian low reserve show up after long-term birth control use? Nope. It's usually because you're older. That's the reason why your reserve goes down. Thanks for the kisses. Let's see. Is it okay to take Omnitrope? Yes. Omnitrope, by the way, is a growth hormone. Serovital helps your own body produce growth hormone, and growth hormone is critical for our rejuvenation of our lives, and therefore for every cell, and therefore for oocytes, we use it in particular. Leisha, I had a double Lupron trigger in my protocols. Is the first one too low a dose to cause ovulation? No, not at all. The double is used in some circumstances, and I've tended to start using them in all circumstances to allow double, meaning Lupron and then HCG, because I like 2 mechanisms to get as many mature eggs. Remember, the number one reason in IVF to use a trigger is for maturation, not for ovulation. So let me clarify that. The number one reason to use a trigger is to get the eggs to go through that final maturation step, because without getting to that maturation step, you can't fertilize them. How long do you recommend priming with Omnitrope? At least 4 to 6 weeks. Just took Avidril today for fourth FET on Friday. Well, let's make a baby, okay, Lorraine? Where is the best place to get Serovital? Online or at Costco? Costco is actually cheaper than online, which is really interesting. Doing ICSI, is frozen sperm just as good as fresh? Yes. When do you recommend taking Serovital? As soon as your first visit. Continue taking it even after the kid is born. How do you get a good number of eggs, as I need to do PGT-M? Well, acupuncture, growth hormone, and genetics. I'm sorry. Hi, I'm sorry I lost connection. Did you answer the question on how to see that a woman doesn't ovulate naturally after trigger before retrieval time? Yeah, I mean, with it can happen that you may trigger early, but that's very rare if you're taking your citratide ganirelix. You got to take the antagonists. That's really where the problem comes in. What are your thoughts about Lupron flare protocol? I used to use it. Don't see a need anymore. It was before the invention of the antagonists like citratide and ganirelix. So, yeah, I don't see a need for it anymore. It's not going to hurt you, but it's kind of it's an old protocol. Kim, if we need to do a second retrieval, is back-to-back versus duo stem the best? The best if you have, okay, Kim, if you have low ovarian reserve, consider doing a duo stim. I mean, really low ovarian reserve, AMH less than 1. If your AMH is like 1.5 and above, then do back-to-back, 1 cycle, then retrieve, a couple of weeks, start the next cycle. You're very welcome, Lorraine. Just make a baby, please. Is Omnitrope bad for women without endometriosis? Nope. The thing that can make your endometriosis grow is estrogen. So, Kim, for you, do 1 cycle, get your retrieval, stay on growth hormone, then wait a couple of weeks for your period, and then start another. So that's called back-to-back. Amanda, with a lot of A's in it, AAMANDA. My prescription list says I need 2 of Lupron triggers with 4 milligrams. So that's a duo. That's a double trigger. My insurance provides Lupulide 1 milligram. Do I order another one? Please talk to your nurse. She'll look at that for you. I did a duostim and it's not too bad. Good. Oh my gosh, my beta came back 256. How many weeks am I pregnant? So that would be 4 weeks. Yes, baby making Friday. Alicia, I have a level 1 protocol. No known problems except male factor. Just transferred 2 4 AAs. Just had a failure. I'm sorry. Would you recommend the same protocol for the second FET? No, I would talk to the doctor about maybe getting another protocol. Kim, thank you. One more question. If we have our period a week later following retrieval, is that too soon? No, not at all. For context, trying to make more follicles. Yes, you can't. Your genetics determine how many eggs you have. In other words, your mom's X chromosome that she gave you will determine your egg quantity. But blood flow to the uterus will help you improve access to the eggs that you have. So acupuncture can help with that, increasing blood flow to the ovaries. Love Dr. K, and your clinic has really helped me. It's our pleasure. Can your body reject an embryo if you had 3 kids naturally? Sorry, I missed your response. Nope. Prograph, not sure what that's for, Gabriella. I'm not sure what that's for you. On retrieval, my estrogen spiked. No fresh transfer for us. Your progesterone, you had ovarian hyperstimulation. What should we watch out for during our FET cycle? You will not get hyperstimulation on your FET because we control the estrogen. Jupiter, if I have a donor and pay to get his sperm frozen, would I have to bring the donor with me when I'm ready for IVF? No, but he has to be tested for hepatitis A, B, C, HIV, and syphilis, has to be stored for 6 months, unless you're sexually active with him. Christina, 27-year-old with an AMH of 2.7. Is this within normal limits? Yes, very nice. Kim, I'm doing acupuncture now. Yay. By the way, I'm a big proponent of acupuncture because I did all the research. And also the American Board of Oriental Reproductive Medicine, there's probably now about 1,000 trained acupuncturists, of which all of them took my courses. And they really know, as well as the Healing Arts Center at CNY in Syracuse and Albany, they really know how to manage patients with IVF and acupuncture. Do I recommend ERAs for failed transfers, Alicia? Yes, in many, many circumstances. Will being on birth control longer improve follicle counts? No. Gabriella, so in other words, natural killer cells are highly unlikely for me if I've had free. I don't know anything about the natural killer cells you're talking about, Gabriella. Don't overread. Don't get worried about that stuff. Eleanor, during my last 2 retrievals, I had empty follicles. What do you think? Timing was wrong. No. Of the, let's say, 10 follicles you see growing, expect only 7 if you're in your 20s, maybe 5 in your 30s, and 4 in your 40s to have an egg. It's not a 1 follicle, 1 egg. Caitlin, Sage, Kirsten, Puffer, love that name. I'm laying on the acupuncture table right now. Well, you shouldn't have your phone on, and you should be relaxing, Caitlin, Sage, Kirsten, Puffer. Heidi, wait a second. Can you do fresh transfer with frozen sperm? Yes. Should I take Serovital after starting Omnitrope? Absolutely, even before starting Omnitrope. Okay, I think I'm done with questions for now. Okay, Kim, you can keep asking questions. I love questions. What is the best way for an acupuncturist to get in touch with you or your wife regarding your acupuncture protocol? Go to eastwindsacupuncture.com, eastwinds, plural, acupuncture.com. And Dr. Diane Credenda and Stephanie King, but Diane Credenda. And just contact her through the email info@eastwindsacupuncture.com, and that'll help. Caitlin, I relax you. Well, that's the first time someone said that this New Yorker relaxes them. Reiki Marcus, how long after a C-section can you try again? I like people to wait 6 to 9 months. When they're transferring an embryo, does it move or stay in one place? No, it moves anywhere from 12 to 24 to 48 hours. It swims around, doesn't swim, floats around, trying to find the best place for it to land. That's why we asked you to rest the day of the retreat transfer and the day after. That's why we asked you to rest. Lemore, and you're not asking, please keep, by the way, folks, you know what? Just ask questions. You can ask as many questions as you need. Lemore, my AMH is 2 and I only have 4 follicles. That makes sense. I'm currently on protocol with 150 and 300. What am I doing wrong? Nothing. Lemore, you have to give me more information because I don't know what you're doing wrong. It has to do with what's your AMH, Lemore? Amanda, is low dose HCG and Metapure the same thing? No, one is from urine, and the other one is, I think, also from urine. But one is a combination of FSH and LH. That's the Menopure, and then HCG is just simply the LH component. Love the shirt. Thank you. Gabrielle, so if you have a polyp, can it affect implantation? Yes. Do not do any transfers if you have something abnormal inside your uterus. So Lemore, an AMH of 2, how old are you? A little bit more history. Tana Sharon, 33, 40-year-old, AMH of 1.8, FSH 6, good. Had poor egg quality last retrieval. Any help with egg quality? Yes. Avoid alcohol, tobacco, street drugs. Use Serovital. Do acupuncture. Ask them to add growth hormone to your protocol. Low carb eating. Love the shirt. Yes. Okay, good. I love it too. Have you seen positive outcomes from women who've had recent endometriosis removal and go, yes, very positive. If you have endometriosis, it can interfere with implantation. So yes, please get the endometriosis taken care of and then jump right in and get a baby. Amber, I have a 2 centimeter fibroid. They told me it was posterior and was not affect transfer. Can you explain this? Yes. There's three. If the uterus, think of the uterus as a pair. You can have a fibroid on the outside, not where the baby's on the inside. So the fibroid can be on the outside, will not affect the baby. If the fibroid's on the inside, sticking on the inside, then of course it could interfere and act like an IUD. It'll interfere. If it's in between the walls, so it's somewhere inside here, it typically doesn't interfere. So if it's on the outside, don't worry about it. I can't look up past things, so Amethstros Wellness, come back and ask me that question again. Do you personally trigger pregnal, or does that happen at ER and done by? Yeah, you give it to yourself. By the way, these triggers, I should say, you do administer to yourself. Should I prescription for 2 Lupron triggers and 1 micro shot? No, it's not a micro shot, Angela. It's a full dose of HCG, but you don't need 2 Lupron triggers and 1 HCG triggers. You could either have 2 Lupron triggers or 1 HCG and 1 Lupron. I was told that by baseline my uterus was small. Does this size in any pregnancy affect pregnancy? Not usually. Okay, I'm 50, lost my cycle 18 months ago. Is there any chance it will come back? Not likely. I'm okay with IVF. It's not likely if you're 50 and it's almost 2 years, but you can use donor egg. We can try with growth hormone. Okay, all righty. Thank you. Yes, I'm Angela. Okay, so that's the answer there. Woo! All right. Is it required for my husband to have a semen analysis completed prior to me being able to start a cycle? Absolutely. Oh, why does he go into a urologist, Kendra, for a semen analysis? You don't have to go to there. Yeah, you don't have to go there. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why that would be a problem, but you should have a semen analysis. You really should. That's the best way. Lashandra, I had my medication list today. I was wondering why they didn't put Menopur on my list. They probably gave you HCG-LH. HCG-LH. It's the same as using Menopur. What trigger shot is better, Pregnil or HCG? They're basically the same, just the doses are different. Is Lovenox and baby aspirin always recommended for MTHFR and recurrent pregnancy loss? Yes. I had my most times, I should say. Yeah. I had my CN1 baby a month ago. Yay, Zoe. Yay, Zoe. Good for you. Have your OB call the analysis in? My husband was able to get it within a few days. Thank you, Kim. You're welcome, Tanish Sharin, 33. How often does someone have to have endometriosis removed? And it is a lifelong thing. If you have pain, get it removed. If you don't have pain, leave it alone. I'm 43 and did Serovital, Omnitrope, low carbs, acupuncture, and 19 eggs. My God. Only 2 made it to day 3. Should I do anything else before transfer? No, that is very typical, Hope. Very typical of human beings in your age group. But the key thing is the 19 eggs, because all you're trying to do is find the egg that's going to make a normal embryo. That's really all you're trying to do. Let me just do this. Okay. So do it again. A 20-year-old will do 3 IVF cycles to make a baby. So at 43, you should expect to take certainly more than 1. Amanda, do you recommend Pregnil for an intrauterine wash before a transfer? In other words, HCG wash, Pregnil. By the way, Pregnil is a trade name. It's a trade name for HCG, so don't get lost in that. Yes, I do recommend HCG washes. I like the idea. Still haven't done a little bit of more. I need to do more research on it though. But physiologically, it seems an interesting way to help folks achieve a pregnancy. Okay, we got lots more people joining us. This is Dr. Magarelli, CNY Fertility, Colorado. Thanks for being here. If you have questions, I'm usually here on Tuesday evenings at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Carla, what can I do to get rid of an endometriosis cyst? Usually surgery. That's probably your best bet is surgery. Oh, let's see what's happening here. Can we take Serovital with Omnitrope? Absolutely. On my second day of stim. Yes, Kim. My AMH is 1.6. Yes, Kim. And 37. Yes, Kim. Definitely. Can you do a lecture about duo stim? Thank you. Huh. I thought I did. Take a look at yeah. I thought I did, but the answer is yes. Of course I can. I'll do it on protocols, but do one on DuoStim. Okay, DuoStim, and of course I'm still doing the one on PRP. I'm definitely doing one. Any recommendations for good egg quality? Yes, growth hormones, Serovital, avoid alcohol, tobacco, drugs. Read a family building guide. Take your vitamins. Avoid people who smoke. I checked. I couldn't find. What is that? LNR. What dose of Serovital? Is it a prescription? No, Kim. It's a over-the-counter growth hormone secretagogue. It's a vitamin that you can. I call it a vitamin. It's something that adds to your life, and you can find it at Costco, and also you can find it online and get the least expensive one. Don't get the more expensive one because that one has caffeine. So get the least expensive one. There you go. Angela says Costco has it the cheapest. By the way, I take Serovital because I'm old. And you just take one package. You'll see it's just one package. Can caffeine hurt FET outcomes? High dose caffeine can. 1 cup, no. I just had a failed IVF, no fallopian tubes. Any advice? Ama. Well, Ama, I don't know how old you are, but it usually takes 2 or 3 times to make a baby. Shay the model. I'm 32. Block tubes. Is IVF the best or tubes removed? Yes. What do I recommend for egg retrieval? My egg retrieval will be Friday. I'm excited. What do I recommend for egg retrieval? There's nothing. Just nothing. You're 31, Ama. Yeah, it's not 100% IVF, so don't be surprised, folks, if it takes more than one try. Because it does. I mean, it does. It takes 18 tries for sex to work in a 20-year-old. So for IVF to work in a person who has a history of infertility, you can imagine it could take more than one try. So don't get discouraged. It looks like everybody's winding down. Dr. Magarelli, CNY Fertility Colorado. We talked about HCG triggers. All right, Amanda, we did one already, a DuoStim. It was a little over a month ago. Oh yeah, I did. Thank you. Amanda is telling us that I did one on DuoStim. So if you're on Facebook Live, she posted where to find it and the number, which is really kind of cool. Thank you, Amanda. You're fantastic. Thank you so much. What should my numbers be for a fresh transfer? Your progesterone should be less than 1.5 and your estrogen should be less than 3,000. My mind is racing wild due to an acute surgery I had and the war in Europe. I have a family and friends there. Any tips on calming the mind before transfer? Absolutely, Hannah. Go to acupuncture. Talk to them about Shen disturbance. Tell them and do things to help reduce the stress. Breathe, meditate, trust in, if you believe in God, trust in God that there's a reason for everything. I missed what you said about caffeine. Is it okay or should we cut it out? You should cut it out. That's really the bottom line. I missed, okay. Did you say pregnal is a trigger too? Yeah. Well, I don't know what you have, Angela. Talk to your nurses about. You said you have 3 triggers. I don't know what that is. Okay, why you have? They maybe I don't know. I think what you're thinking about is it can be a trigger, but it can also be an HCG wash. So HCG can provide LH. HCG can be a trigger. HCG can be a wash. What are my thoughts on PGD testing? I think they're useful for those people who have genetic diseases. I think they're useful for people who are in the age group of 35 and 40 who've had recurrent pregnancy loss. Anyone who's had recurrent pregnancy loss, it might be helpful. It's not useful for everybody. Is it recommended to get birth control pills before starting, LaShondra? No, you don't have to. Okay, let's see. We are rocking it here. God, it's such a good day here. Sunny, beautiful, nice. Great talking to you folks. I want to, what did you say to take for good egg quality? So, acupuncture, that's number one, get more blood flow. Number two, growth hormone, that can help with injections, that's a prescription. Vital, over the counter, you can get this at Costco, you can get it online. Avoiding alcohol, tobacco, drugs, anyone who's smoking, avoid them. Those are things you can do to improve egg quality. Is it okay to transfer after having COVID? Yes. I lost a baby a year ago. Should I get a PGT test? Well, it depends on the reason, Mary, and I'm so sorry about the loss. Amanda, may you share the difference between low-dose HCG and HCG 10,000? Yes. Low-dose HCG is used to mimic LH, so it's feeding the follicle. HCG 10,000 is a trigger to complete the last stage of oocyte development. So again, HCG has lots of things it can be used for. Very low dose, it's used to supplement instead of Menopur, your fertility medicines. At high dose, it's used as a trigger. If a cyst is found at baseline, can I still start meds for retrieval? It depends on how big it is. Any recommendations to get rid of endometriosis cyst, and can I do a frozen transfer with a 50 millimeter cyst, 5 centimeters? You can, but I would probably, if you have a frozen embryo, get it fixed first. I think this will be the last question. If you don't have regular cycles, how do you get started with the baselines? My cycle is normally 33 days. Would I wait, or do they give me a date and go check? Yes, take a date, go check. Well, anyway, tonight's topic was on, let's see if I can bring it back up here. This was the topic that we did today. Let me make it even bigger for you. Let me go up here and go here and go backwards. So the topic we did today was on IVF triggers, part 1. Part 2 will be in a couple of weeks. And that's when I'm going to help you decide which ones are good for you, or why one may be better for you. Next, right, 2 weeks, because next week we're going to be doing questions and answers only. I'll be bringing on some acupuncturists with me to do a little shared talk. I'm going to bring on some embryologists to do a shared talk. We are going to talk about PRP. I've already done a talk on duostim, so you guys go look in the archives for that. Thank you, Amanda. It's my pleasure. And LaShondra, Dre, I'm looking forward to meeting you. And everybody have a very safe evening. Yes, pray for the people in the Ukraine, for their safety, and for this war to be over as quickly as possible. And thank you all for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. This is Dr. Magarelli, CNY Fertility Colorado, signing out. Bye.